You're watching France 24. Yeah, earlier we were with our correspondent in Hong Kong, Oliver Farry, who described for us live scenes where we still had firecrackers and tear gas fired around Hong Kong Polytechnic University, where a siege has been underway all day long and well into the night. It is gone 1 a.m. there. These are live images that you're seeing. Joining us to talk about it is Kenneth Yeung, member of the Paris-based Committee for the Freedom of Hong Kong, joined by Nicolas, Szeto, member of that same committee. Welcome to both of you. I want to begin with you, Kenneth. What we're seeing here, every time we're talking about a new phase, right?
Yeah.
This is definitely a new phase, isn't it? Because we're seeing more sort of a radicalization, if you will, on both sides.
Yeah, and it's not easy for us to say that, but we have to admit that actually the Hong Kong police is now escalating different kinds of force, and particularly this week. And then when we look back, not just only now in the Polytechnic University, but also formerly in the Chinese University, and then we also face the same thing. And when we look back to the situation in Chinese university, it's really horrible that like in one night, 3 hours, and then they fired more than 2,000 tear gas, which is made in China. And there are a lot of very high overdose that are toxic elements inside, which also cause a lot of environmental problems.
But there are tactics being employed on both sides, it seems. You have a more radicalized core, if you will, that's decided to try and draw in the police to this one area. So you have this siege that's been going on. You have, throwing of petrol bombs. Lots been made of that bow and arrow that injured a policeman. And on the other hand, as you describe it, the full arsenal being put out by the Hong Kong police. What's next now at this point? Because there aren't any real negotiations going on.
I would like to respond a little bit about the tactics of the protesters. Actually, if you find the tactics of the protesters, and then mostly they are quite defensive, and then it's not really that kind of aggressive. For example, even for the Chinese university ones, and then we will see that they formally try to block some roads, but actually they are not trying to attack something, even for the roads or the material stuff. And in this sense, and then the police trying to justify the attack on the university, and then they're trying to bombard the bridge and so on. But actually, this bridge is also a part of the campus, and then they're trying to retreat into their campus, and then they use, of course, and then we have to admit that there are some petrol bombs, we have some bows and arrows, but actually it's mostly they are just only for defensive measures. And in this case, and then the force used by the police is really pretty disproportionate. And according to your second question, I think it's quite difficult for the protesters now at this moment to propose a kind of negotiation, because when the police trying to escalate the violence without any very concrete reasons, and also the government actually behind the police, they allow to do so, and then they know how to push the police into the front. And at the same time, and then when we date back a little bit to early October, and then it's also the Hong Kong government trying to impose or use the emergency law to pass the law of anti-mask, which is now judged by the.
I was going to say, because this Monday, a court in Hong Kong ruling against this law, saying it cannot be applied.
Yes, and then it's anti-constitutional.
What's your reaction to that?
For the protesters, of course, and then we think we won a little bit a very small victory. Of course, it's also again a little bit too late, too little. But for government, and then it's quite hard for us to observe what's the next step, because now and then the election is now approaching, and then we still not knowing how they will.
Before we talk about the elections next Sunday, let's ask. Let me turn to you, Nicolas, Szeto. What's the tactic if you're a protester today? What is the objective, and what's the tactic?
Well, in terms of tactics, I'm not there, so I can't really say anything about what I'm going to do. The objective is very clear. Well, we still have that 5 demands, and the government has so far responded to only one. And well, I think at least we need to have a universal suffrage of the Parliament, of the the Legislative Council. Yeah, I think this is our baseline. Yeah.
In 2014, when the movement went on a long time, it kind of lost support. Now, with the images, and these are live images, by the way, a lot of them that we're seeing, with the fact that you have this violence that seems to be going crescendo, do you fear as though popular support will wane?
No, so far, we can still see a lot of people marching out. Well, last time, because it was an occupation, we saw people, leaving all the time. Yeah, but this time is different. We can still see loads of people marching out to protect the Polytechnic University. And, I believe that, and also given the police brutality, that the entire Hong Kong has witnessed. I believe that.
So there are local elections that are scheduled for next Sunday. Normally, they could be delayed. What would you like to see happen?
Well, of course, I would like to see that. I would like to see the elections being held normally without any obstructions, and and also without any infiltrations from the police into the elections to try to sabotage the entire elections.
Kenneth Yeung?
For me, and then of course it's quite worrying. First of all, it's probable for Carrie Lam to impose again the emergency law to obstruct the election. But of course it's not very effective. Firstly, it can just only delay for 14 days. And secondly...
And if the elections do take place, do you see the protesters taking a step back to allow everyone to vote, or will this continue?
I think just only for the election, and I'm quite confident that the protesters will be calm on that day, because they know that it's a kind of a demonstration of democracy. It's a way to show that how democracy works. And I'm quite sure that they will even come out, try to be a kind of the disciplinary
do crowd control.
Crowd control team, and then trying to help to maintain the order of the society instead of doing any kind of obstruction.
You mentioned Carrie Lam. She's the head of the Executive Council. We haven't heard much from her over the last 48 hours. At this point in time, who do you think is the best interlocutor for the people in that movement in Hong Kong?
It's too difficult for me to answer this question, because now I think even for in the pro-democracy camp, and then we cannot find a very suitable interlocutor to talk and then to negotiate. And I think at least we have to wait until the result of the elections.
Wait until the result of the elections, Nicolas Szeto, or at what point does, and I've been asking this question to Kenneth Yeung when he's been on with us before, at what point does a leaderless movement start to at least have spokespeople who can go and try to negotiate and move your demands forward in a peaceful manner?
Well, I don't think there will be a day that we have any spokesman. I guess, it's a leaderless movement, so we don't do this. And, I think our demands are clear. And, and she also has the platform to give any press conferences and all sorts of stuff to tell people that the government will compromise, will at least do some concessions to any of the demands. But so far we've only seen one, and I don't see that the government is trying to is trying to satisfy our demands.
All right, the ball in her court is what you're saying. Nicolas Szeto, I want to thank you. I want to thank Kenneth Yeung as well for joining us. Stay with us. There's more to come here on France 24.